Good evening and welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, May 27, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. A recent strike action by plant quarantine officers in Trinidad has once again resulted in produce from SVG being sent back to local traders. Plant Protection and Quarantine Supervisor Michael Delpesh told SVG-TV News that the industrial action in TNT last week affected one of the 3 vessels that were used to ship produce to the Twin Island Republic.
The largest boat would be the Admiral Bay that would usually arrive in Trinidad on Tuesday morning, and so that boat, the produce were inspected and everything went well with that boat. The other boats would arrive a little later, and so they were the ones that were affected. Usually the inspection would be done on Wednesday, and that was not done until Thursday. And one of the boats, Porsche, was supposed to be done on Friday based on our understanding, our information, but the boat left before the boats were inspected.
Delpesh said the produce returned included bananas, plantains and coconuts, and that some of the produce accepted in Trinidad ended up spoiling.
Greater portion of the goods going to Trinidad were cleared. However, there were reports of some spoilage due to the time that these goods had to remain on board before they were inspected. We are not in a position from quarantine to really say that we are not going to send any produce to Trinidad. Of course, we would not like to take such a decision if that authority was given to us.
Meanwhile, local traders are said to be disappointed with the latest return of their produce, weeks after going through the same ordeal due to the pink mealybug. Plant Protection and Quarantine Supervisor Michael Delpesh said the traders are aware that the recent incident had nothing to do with the quality of their goods.
Some of them would be losing because some of their produce would have spoiled, and of course this is always difficult given the problems that they had encountered in recent times. So some of them are very concerned in terms of where their business is heading at this moment, and are really considering seriously whether they should really be continuing trading.
Delpesh said he, however, noticed that the volume of produce shipped this week is significantly lower and may be due to traders taking precautionary measures as a result of the strike action in TNT.
The traffickers will be the ones who would have to decide whether they are taking the chance to ship if this dispute continues in Trinidad. As a matter of fact, this week we observed that less produce would be going to Trinidad because I do not think that the dispute has been settled. So some of the traders are taking precaution, so in the event that there is still industrial action, that they would not really be losing much.
According to an online news source, over a dozen persons staged a protest outside the Trinidad port last week, calling on the authorities to release their goods and for compensation for perishable items after they were denied access to them at the facility. The traders complained that the strike action by the quarantine officers has affected their weekly sales to market vendors across the country. The Ministry of Education is collaborating with an online learning portal to assist with the teaching of information communication technology (ICT) to mathematics and English language primary school teachers. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the ICT integration workshop for teachers of mathematics and English A, head of the curriculum unit, Aldia Gums, said, "Gone are the days when computers were only afforded to the rich and fortunate people."
We want to be proactive, and we want to prepare for the ways in which we will help these students to use these tools to better their lives. It is very important that our students are presented with the appropriate programs appropriate software, and the appropriate methodology to use these computers effectively and efficiently if they are to maximize the use of these instruments.
The workshop also caters to mathematics and English 8 teachers of the lower secondary schools from Forms 1 to 3. Senior Education Officer for Primary Schools, Asfor Stevens, said that technology, and in particular the computer, has showcased the advancements of the growing technological world.
Child, each student. The computer cannot be viewed as a mere toy or a tool to engage in socially unacceptable activities. The computer must be developmental. Today we have teaching being done online through online tutoring. No longer do we have, if you don't want to have a tutor in front of us.
The collaborators of the ICT integration program, Easy Learners Incorporated, says they are pleased to be working in SVG. CEO of Easy Learners Incorporated, Troy Weeks, outlined that the program is already undertaken in Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago, as well as Canada and the US. Weeks added that a number of applications have been developed to help harness the writing, reading, and comprehension skills of its audience.
Students would compose their short stories, and then we found a way to distribute those stories across the internet, where students were now able to socially share and read each other's stories, make likes, and further propagating each other's creativity. Storyville became that feed that was used to deliver these stories to a wider audience across the globe. Subsequently, we realized that some of the students were writing very strong, well-developed compositions. So we developed another application called Comprehend, which would adapt those compositions into passages from which students would then be questioned in the form of comprehension exercises.
The program, which was developed in 2011, also has courses on mathematics as prescribed by the Ministries of Education with which it is involved.
Fourth application became Compute, which is about computation. Finally, Easy Learner decided to move into the mobile app space. And today we have the Storyville application, which is a social storybook app that is delivered on the BlackBerry and the Android platforms.
The Ministry of Education is mourning the passing of yet another educator, Judith Balor, who died early Monday morning. Balor performed several roles during her sojourn with the Ministry of Education, but will be particularly remembered for her pioneering work in the early childhood education sector and the roving caregivers program for children aged 0 to 3. The ministry says Balor's legacy includes her commitment, dedication to task, and general passion for children, and she will be remembered as one who laid the foundation for many of the ministry's accomplishments in these areas. A call has been made for some major changes in the day-to-day operations of omnibuses here. The call came from President of the Omnibuses Association, Anthony Backus, at last Sunday's meeting with the police and Minister of Transport and Works, Senator Julian Francis. He strongly criticized the manner in which the current system is being operated, saying that it was easy for anyone to purchase a vehicle, obtain the relevant licenses, and begin operation. This, he said, needs to be changed.
I feel that before you could put a bus on the road, you should go through the Minibus Association. We should have workshops set up. Workshops such as human relations, communications with the public. Workshops, defensive driving, so you can know how to conduct yourselves on the road. Defensive driving. We should have workshops on, we would like to have workshops with hygiene, our health, communications, And about the alcohol, no alcohol while driving.
The High Court criminal session, which began sitting here on Tuesday, May 20th, 2014, has been temporarily adjourned for 1 week to accommodate the sitting of the local leg of the Eastern Caribbean Appellate Court, which commenced today. According to a list that was issued by the High Court office, there are some 36 cases down to be heard. These include 6 motions and applications, 1 High Court appeal against sentence, 5 High Court criminal appeals against conviction, 3 High Court civil appeals, 7 magisterial criminal appeals against sentence, 11 magisterial criminal appeals against conviction, 2 magisterial civil appeals, and 1 High Court civil appeal. The sitting of the appeals court is being presided over by Chief Justice Janice Pereira and Justices of Appeal Davidson Batiste and Louise Blenman, among others. Still to come, CDC says it will not be held to ransom by any of the components of Vincy Mass. More stories on the local scene when SVG-TV News continues. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Carnival Development Corporation today made it clear that it has not kicked out any of the 3 components of Vincy Mass from any of its shows. However, it wants the components to know that the CDC will not be held to ransom by any of them. Chairman of the CDC, Dennis Ambrose, at a media conference, says the corporation continues to work assiduously with all its components and maintains its open-door policy upon which good relationships are built and sustained.
Any component which expresses that it has constraints which the CDC is unable to address in the unilateral manner described by the component, the CDC has a responsibility to ensure that reasonable contingencies are in place to conduct the smooth running of all the shows. All components are represented on the CDC as a board. All components are kept abreast of all our efforts to solve problems and address issues which arise. We expect that there will always be frank discussion with open and honest communication. Having said that, it is obvious that given what has transpired recently in the media circles, that a number of different concerns have risen, some of which are misguided and designed to create mischief and malice, all of which we can do without.
Meanwhile, Ambrose used the opportunity to remind Vincentians that Calypso tents commence tonight in Kingstown with the upstage experience, with other tents to follow soon.
The On-Tour Calypso tent will be kicking off their activities on Thursday, May 29th at Russell's Auditorium at Stony Ground. As usual, we are appealing to the general public to give them good support. This is their season, so please come out and support the talents of our Calypsonians. I believe they have some good material this year to lead up to the Calypso semi-finals on Fantastic Friday, on Friday, June 27th. Please note also that with the sponsorship of St. Vincent Brewery, this particular event is a drink-inclusive event.
Meanwhile, as the CDC continues to source monies to cover residual debts following the staging of Vincy Mass 2013, the local corporate community is coming to its assistance in dealing with the corporation's financial burden. Earlier today, the St. Vincent Cooperative Bank presented a check to the CDC and expressed how pleased the institution is to now be a brand sponsor of Vincy Mass 2014. Western Union SVG also spoke of its donation and commitment to the festival.
We at the St. Vincent Cooperative Bank has been helping the Carnival Development Committee in sponsoring Miss SVG and Miss Carnival, been giving gifts to them. But this year we have decided to take a bigger plunge in helping the Carnival Development Committee by becoming a bronze sponsor.
For the second consecutive year, Western Union has renewed its commitment to this premier cultural festival in the form of $5,000. Western Union is very confident that this money will go a very long way in making the festival much bigger and much better.
At a recent media conference, Chairman of the CDC, Dennis Ambrose, announced that the corporation is some $250,000 behind in debt from Vincy Mass 2013. Attending today's media conference by the CDC were 2 diplomats from Switzerland, an ambassador and a consulate general. Ambassador Sabine Ullman says they thought it was extremely important to capitalize on the opportunity to meet the contestants in this year's Miss SVG pageant, since they would not be in the country to witness the event scheduled for this Saturday at Carnival City, Victoria Park. Meanwhile, the Swiss ambassador also presented all 8 contestants with pins, while members of the CDC and Minister of Tourism and Culture, Cecil Mackey, also received pins and other gifts.
Misses are like ambassadors. They are ambassadors for the country and also ambassadors, I think, for the young generation, for the youth, and it's very important. So you are like models for the future, and I think everybody looks at you and looks the way you behave, what you say, and I think so you have, I think, a very important role in the society. Vincy Mass is, I think, very, very important, as you mentioned before, very important, I would say, event, not only for St. Vincent but also for the whole region, and so I think it's one of these important events to make cohesion and collaboration also between the different countries of the Caribbean. It's also very important. Once again, I wish all the queens all the best for Saturday.
See your eyes, it will never break, you just don't care. When them up to the sky, let them fly.
That's Carnival Beat. We continue with other local stories. Police are investigating an accident on the road leading to Mount St. Andrew yesterday afternoon, killing a technical worker with the telecommunication company Ericsson. According to reports reaching SVG-TV News, a technical team went to visit a transmission site on the mountain slope, and on the way down, the vehicle in which they were traveling overturned. It is reported that the deceased, who has been identified as a national of the Dominican Republic, got trapped inside the vehicle. He reportedly died on the spot. Corez Hazels Incorporated has come to the assistance of Judith Delpesh of Buckament, who suffered extensive damage to her home during the December 2013 floods. The employed homeowner is said to be a regular customer of Corez Hazels and began rebuilding her home through the company's extended discount offer to those affected by the floods. It is said that her funds were exhausted before the roof of her newly constructed home could be completed, and that she further sought the assistance of the company through a letter. Corez has reportedly responded favorably to Delpesh's request and provided the Buckament resident with plywood, lumber, and other building material to complete her home.